Well, today in San Francisco, clear skies, cool temperatures in the 40s, and no wind to speak of at this time. It's been windy quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, but today, so far, no wind. So today we're going to talk about the risk of nuclear war. Russia has 6,000 nuclear warheads as of 2022. The U.S. has 3,750 nuclear warheads and 2,000 nuclear warheads on retirement, making their total 5,750 nuclear warheads. North Korea, we don't know. Everybody else has a small amount. Russia has threatened to use small nuclear weapons. Now, the way Russia will use these small nuclear weapons is they're on artillery pieces, and they're shot out in artillery shells and cause a nuclear explosion about the size or a little smaller than Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear weapons. So they're nothing to laugh at. They're not small by any means. And it's unfortunate because the U.S. doesn't have any more fallout shelters anymore that are built or even maintained. All full-out nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia was to break out. And unfortunately, the U.S. has mostly wood cities. Most of the apartment buildings and apartment blocks around the U.S. are made of wood and would immediately catch fire if a nuclear exchange was to be done. War with Russia has been feared for over 70 years. The first hydrogen bombs would destroy the world's biggest city. So what would happen in a nuclear exchange with Russia? Both the U.S. and Russia would first use high atmospheric, about 3,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. This would cause EMPs, electromagnetic pulses, which would destroy electronics. No more phones. So most people's lights and refrigerators and microwaves and phones and computers would all go dead. We'd be all sitting in the dark if it was to happen at night. If you're in your car driving, most vehicles would stop running because of electronics in the cars. Some of the very oldest cars might continue to run, but that's even questionable. And unfortunately, in the new modern nuclear age, some rockets have as many as 10 warheads on them and will just deploy them like in one city and hit 10 different spots at once. The first strikes will be 500 to 600 warheads. Use it or lose it. So what's this mean? That means in a nuclear exchange, every country will immediately go for the other country's nuclear weapons first. So if you don't shoot it off, you'll lose it. So you shoot off every nuclear warhead you can immediately before Russia's nuclear weapons reach the U.S. and vice versa. That's why they say a nuclear war will only last hours to a couple of days before everyone's dead pretty much, or suffering from severe radiation. What would be the first cities to be hit? Well, obviously Washington. Here in the U.S., Washington, and especially the White House, the Pentagon. Over in Russia, it'd be Moscow. The Kremlin would be hit first. So the nuclear explosion itself is about 10 miles wide and is about 10 million degrees in temperature, vaporizing everything in the ball itself on the nuclear warheads that reach the ground. There are about 10,000 aircraft in the air at any one time. And the problem with the nuclear exchange is that the second thing that gets hit are airports. And so you'll have any planes that can still fly after the EMP would have no place to land anywhere. So they'd have to land in water, rivers, that sort of thing if they're around. And unfortunately, most planes would probably stop running and you'd be gliding, and the only chance you'd have is to land in a river or lake or ocean. So what happens next after all these weapons are exchanged with each other? Unfortunately, not much. There would be a few people that were able to get down into emergency shelters from the Pentagon or maybe the White House. But other than that, pretty much everyone would just wander around and then these great clouds of radioactive dust, debris, and soot would float down on them, and they would all be suffering from radiation poisoning. Another problem is that most of the food crops would be destroyed immediately, and there'd be no food to eat. So starvation would also take place. And if you did find some shelter, you'd probably try and find guns and weapons to keep others out. It's a nasty situation that would happen. And every scenario that I've looked at for nuclear war comes out this way. There is no surviving nuclear war to really speak of. After about 20 to 100 years, the radiation would start to clear out and nuclear winter would start to abate. During nuclear winter, the entire globe would turn to snow and frost and cold, so there'd be nowhere to grow food if you were to survive. Unfortunately, because we have all these damn nuclear weapons, sooner or later we knew that a nut would become a leader in one of these countries and threaten nuclear war all over the planet. We've seen several nuts now between the Bushes, and Trump and Putin and other nutty leaders such as Kim Jong-un in North Korea. All these leaders are nuts and they have nuclear weapons at their ready. What in the hell are we going to do now? We're really in a stick it wicket, and everybody needs to know that there is no survival of a nuclear exchange, whether it starts small and grows quickly or whether it's all big nukes all at once. There's no surviving it. So we cannot go down the road of nuclear weapons, no matter how much people think that you can have a nuclear war. That's insanity. Between India and Pakistan, they want to have a nuclear war, but unfortunately even theirs would spread to the rest of the globe and destroy us all. So it's important that we do not have a nuclear war whatsoever, and that we quit putting nuts in office, and we get the nuts that are in office now out of office in any means necessary, because there is no surviving a nuclear war. If you have to shoot all these idiots, then do it, but whatever it takes to get rid of the nuts in office must be done shortly before it's too late.